and gentlemen, that will do it for the NFL preseason. Now the countdown is on until the real deal. And speaking of the real deal, welcome into First Take. Thanks for starting your week out with us. Harry Douglas, Max Kellerman, I'm Charlie Arnold. How you guys feeling
Dapper
today?
as always. Look.
Hey, shout out to my wife, man.
Right.
Former athletes. Just look at how Harry's doing it. It's not too much. He's tying it all in. It's just right.
I mean, when you have your wife as your stylist around the clock, you really can't go wrong. There was a reason why you married her.
Yep.
Now you have another reason.
That's just one reason.
Absolutely.
It's probably about 1,000, but that's just one, Charlie.
Okay, well, let's get right into it because you can really always count on Bill Belichick to make us sweat just a little bit, even with the preseason officially in the books. Last night's win over the Giants was the kicker. He has yet to name the starting quarterback for the Patriots, who face Miami week 1. Now, all signs point to Cam Newton, who started every preseason game, but Mac Jones overall has shown really nice progress, completing 36 of his 52 throws, 389 yards, and a touchdown in the preseason. So, Bill, what do you think?
Moving ahead to regular season games, have you made a decision on who will start at quarterback in the regular season opener?
Yeah, no, we still have a lot of decisions to make.
Do you think you've played well enough to be the starter?
I mean, I've gotten a lot of opportunities to play, and I can improve on everything that I want to improve on. So I think just learning from Hoyer, Cam, Jarrett, anybody I can, and just listening to Josh and his coaching. There's a lot of work to do, but I think I've made progress. But honestly, it's just the only thing that matters is today, and then tomorrow I'll focus on tomorrow. But I think the past is the past, and we're kind of moving on to the new season here.
Okay, he has the right mindset, but check this out. This is a little bit interesting. Prior to last night's game, Cam Newton posted this on Instagram. It's a photo with QB1 written over it. So he seems to have all the confidence in the world. But Max, I want to ask you, the preseason is in the books. Who do you think has proved themselves to be QB1 for the Patriots?
My answer is Cam Newton, but I got a comment on that sound by Mac Jones. Was Bill Belichick using him as a marionette, as a puppet? Or like that dude is channeling Bill Belichick.
Well, you even saw with his walk at the draft. Remember, everyone was comparing him to Bill Belichick, even with that strut.
What's unbelievable is there are guys, I always think of like Andrew Luck and compare him to Cam Newton. Because they came out, they're both number one. Who's going to be the better pro? Turns out you could argue it was Cam Newton after everyone thought Andrew Luck. Cam Newton won an MVP, went to a Super Bowl, and then Luck wound up retiring. But when you heard Cam Newton talk, especially early in his career, he said he was so uncomfortable in his own skin, he made you uncomfortable watching him. Mm-hmm. Andrew Luck just spat out all the football cliches, but he had drank the Kool-Aid so long ago in his life, he didn't have to stop to think about anything. Andrew Luck believed it, so he just spat it out. And it's like, yep, that's what I want to hear. That's some football talk. And he believed. Mac Jones is one of these dudes. He's channeling Belichick because that's who he is. That's like, Saban, Belichick.
There you go, Max.
It's perfect. I get all that. And I hear 7-on-7, 11-on-11, 2-minute drill. Preseason is great. The best game I've seen by a Patriots quarterback this preseason was game 2 by Cam Newton. That was the best either one of those guys played. That was the best. And Cam Newton is a former MVP. He was voted by his peers best player in the league. Middle of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers' prime. The football players of the world said, that dude. And so did everybody, right? That's why he won the MVP. Got to a Super Bowl. He was his own best running back, and the tight end was his best receiver. Got to a Super Bowl. Cam Newton in the past was a great quarterback. Well, he couldn't beat you with his arm. Stop. That's just a means to an end. He was a great quarterback at one point. And then the last time seen healthy in a system with which he was familiar, he was an even better passer under Norv Turner. He was having his best passing year. Then he got hurt. Then he went to the Patriots. No preseason, COVID, no practice, new system, no weapons. That's why Brady left. Then he got COVID. Until then, he looked pretty good. He looked like, look out for Cam. I saw that same Cam Newton again. Nothing against Mac Jones. As I said, that dude looks ready to be the Patriots quarterback. I think Cam Newton's better right now.
Well, I'll tell you this. Before this week, Cam Newton was on my QB1. And I wanted Cam Newton to win this job. But after Pandora's box got opened a little bit, Cam Newton in the COVID situation.
Pandemic's box.
He gave Mac Jones an opportunity to slide in the door, right? And you just heard Mac Jones there. He had the opportunity. He's taking advantage of the opportunities that presented himself. You just mentioned, Charlie, the guy has completed 36 for 52, 389 yards, 1 touchdown. But most importantly, Max and Charlie, He doesn't have any interceptions. Yep. He has not turned the football over.
Eat that. He's not going to mess it up.
No, he's not going to mess it up. And I'm looking at Mac Jones last night. I'm like, this young man, to be a rookie, is confident, right? He's grasped the offense. He's delivering the ball in the pocket. He's efficient.
Poised.
Very poised. And then when I look at Cam Newton, didn't have his best game yesterday. When I'm looking at Cam Newton throw the football yesterday outside the numbers, there were some struggles, right? Passes being low, passes being skipped to receivers. But then you get to his interception. And I'm going to break down this interception for you from Cam Newton. So the Giants your New York football Giants did a great job defensively, Mac, disguising their coverage. Right. So they played a Tampa 2. But let me tell you how they played it. They kind of did it with some invert, right? Inverted 2 in there. So they blitz from the boundary side of the football field. They blitz the cornerback, right? Logan Ryan's playing in the middle of the field. So he goes and takes the flat that the corner's normally supposed to take. Safety in the middle of the field, he goes back to that same side, plays the cover 2 half field. Other safety on the wide side of the field plays half field as well. The corner on the wide side of the field, he's playing his flat responsibilities. But let me tell you where it gets dicey at. They lined up Martinez, the linebacker, on the line of scrimmage with another safety to disguise it. At the snap of the ball, Martinez's responsibility is to take the deep middle of the field, right? That's his responsibility as a linebacker in Tampa 2. So now you have a wide receiver on a linebacker. Now, let me tell you how important recognition is, Charlie and Max. Recognition as a quarterback is very important. You have a receiver matched up on a linebacker. Why is Cam Newton trying to back shoulder a wide receiver when he's running one-on-one with the linebacker? Just put some air on that football and let that receiver go run under the football. Then the interception doesn't even happen, right? So those are the things that I'm talking about with Cam, and I want Cam to win this job. I'm from Georgia. I'm from the south side of Georgia. Cam is from the south side of Georgia. Do I want him to win this job? Hell yes, I want him to win this job. But right now, Mac Jones is the best quarterback for the Patriots and to win that quarterback job.
In week 1, he's the best quarterback.
In my eyes, he is.
I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. First of all, Cam may be suffering from the curse of the gifted, right? Why is his processor and all that, like you like what you see there and not as much with Cam? Because Mac Jones had to have that, right? Because he was not the biggest, strongest, fastest dude on the field. Cam was the best athlete in the NFL playing quarterback, biggest, strongest, fastest guy playing quarterback, the curse of the gifted. You never have to have those same kind of refined skills as the other dudes get. When you do, you get Michael Jordan. You get LeBron James. When you got the best athlete who also acts like they're the worst athlete, then you get the next level. That hasn't been Cam. He hasn't been Jordan or LeBron James. He may suffer from the curse of the gifted, right? Because you're able to rely on your physical gift. But you know what Mac Jones doesn't have going for him? Experience. And I know this one day someone's going to do it. Some starting quarterback as a rookie is going to win the Super Bowl. But as of today, no starting quarterback who is a rookie ever even took his team to a Super Bowl. Now, on the other hand, if you didn't have anyone else on the roster who's capable of doing that, I would say, okay, this kid's really good. He's ready. They got a good offensive line. He's ready. But you do. You got a dude who's been in the Super Bowl. You got a dude who won MVP. You got a dude, this is going to sound, here's a hot take. Ready for this?
Yep.
I'm not sure Cam has played his best football. How do you like that? I'm not sure. And
Don't you?
Well, I'll tell you why. He was more of a physical phenomenon in a
Don't
league.
Don't you amp me up on First Take this morning. You about to get me riled up.
Monday.
And we just started this show now.
He was more of a physical phenomenon in a league that had fewer of them. Because he also sort of changed the position, right? There weren't as many guys who could do a lot of things he could do. There are more now. So I get that. I'm just saying, under Norv Turner, he was a better passer from the pocket. And now he's not with Norv Turner. He's with Bill Belichick right now. Okay. He's going to have the best coaching and the best all-around team maybe around him he's ever had, with all that experience behind him where he's been humbled. And let's not overstate his lack of athletic ability. We're comparing him to 7 years ago, to himself. He's still one of the biggest, strongest, most athletic quarterbacks in the history of football. Today, he is still that. So I'm not sure. And I think he deserves a chance to try. If I was a Patriots fan, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, that's the guy I want to see.
Well, first things first, I want to go back to Mac Jones and his experience. I'm not worried about the experience part when it comes to Mac Jones, because where did he play college at, Max?
Yep, Alabama.
Yep. He played at Alabama. And all they
have.
do is play in big games down there in Bama. That's what they do. These guys are experienced. They're ready to play. They're ready to play when they come into the NFL, except for Tua, but that's for another story. We'll get to that a little later. But when you look at Mac Jones, I just think he's the guy for this team. I look at him in the pocket. Remember, I just talked about recognition, right? Recognizing matchups. I love the way when his tight end was down the field, he back the play where you back shoulder your guy. I love the way he is in the pocket, delivering the football down the field, standing tall in the pocket, just gunning that thing. Listen, and he's very efficient. He's smart. He's not going to lose you games. That's what you want. I'm telling you, I'll be the first to tell you, I wanted Cam Newton to win this job. But after watching Mac Jones and seeing the big picture, Mac Jones is the guy. And for Cam Newton, listen, don't sit up here and tell me we're going to see Cam Newton from 2015 again. We're not seeing Cam Newton from 2000.
Have expressed with confidence Dak Prescott is ready to go for week 1. His first game action in 340 days when the Cowboys take on the Super Bowl defending Bucs. Dak returned to team drills last Wednesday after not having practiced since July 27th because of a shoulder strain. And now the Cowboys have 3 days off before returning to practice on Thursday to prep for week 1. Here's head coach Mike McCarthy.
With a little less than 2 weeks here to the opener, how do you assess where you stand and how much work needs to be done to be ready for that opener?
I mean, Captain Obvious, we're full steam ahead to Tampa. I mean, we've lost some opportunities to practice, with Dak. So, now that he's back, it's, our focus really, part of Kellen's focus and Dak's focus really has been this past week. We need to get as much in as we possibly can between now and the Tampa Bay game. So our focus is on Tampa.
Okay. Focus is on Tampa. Very generic response. Max, are you confident or are you concerned when it comes to Dak Prescott?
I'm confident because we know Dak. I knew Dak was a good quarterback. If you ask me, and you could see that from this first preseason game. I was like, what's this? They got him in the 4th round? Right? And at the time, we used to debate on this show. I was like, yeah, I think he might be the better fit here than Tony Romo because, why? He didn't miss time. He was always available, and he just had that thing, and he was making all the plays. At a certain point, I thought maybe he got a hair overrated. I thought that the Cowboys should have locked him up at 20 to 25 a couple of years ago when he was an upper-middle-class quarterback. But what disabused me of the idea that he's not at least very good, if not great, was I think Andy Dalton's decent. I think Andy Dalton, you could do a lot worse as a backup quarterback. And when he took over that offense, I was like, what just happened to that offense, right?
The red rifle, not at it again.
Well, but it's not even to knock Andy Dalton. It's to say Andy Dalton as a replacement, the gap between a replacement quarterback and Dak is wide. And unlike Garoppolo, where you're like, the gap's also wide between Garoppolo and a replacement quarterback. I keep bringing that up. He wins 3 out of every 4 for a team that loses 3 out of every 4 without him. It's obvious. With Garoppolo, it's more subtle. With Dak, it's obvious. Yeah. He can throw, he can run, he can read defenses. His teammates love him. He can lead. He can do all the things very obviously you want a quarterback to do. And the line is back. He should have at least a good, if not excellent, offensive line. His running back is in shape. And he's got 3 receivers.
Zeke. We got Slim Zeke coming into the season.
You got Slim Zeke.
Slim Daddy.
With a chip on his shoulder. And you got 3 receivers.
Yep. Eating less chips, though.
Probably. They need to get a chip is what they need. The 3 receivers, other than Tampa, that's the best 3 in the league. If you had to say 1, 2, 3, who's the best in the league, my vote would go to Dallas, other than Tampa, right? He's set up. He's very good, and he's on a good offense. He's going to be the comeback player of the year.
Well, for me, it's both, right? I'm concerned. Well, I'm going to go with confident. I'm confident in Dak because I'm confident in his abilities. Dak is a pro's pro. He's going to play the game of football, and we see what he means to this Dallas football, not just offense, but this entire team and his leadership. The concern part for me is that, okay, Dak is going through this shoulder injury. Let's just say what happens when one of these offensive linemen miss a block, miss something in protection, right? Dak gets sacked, and he gets driven on that shoulder. Now, I'm worried about the mental capacity, the mental state of Dak Prescott. Being a quarterback, a guy who relies on his shoulder to throw the football, what is his mental going to be if this occurs? That's where it lies for me. That's the concern part for me. But when it comes to confident, I'm confident in Dak. I'm confident he's going to lead this football team to a NFC East title. I know you don't feel the same, Max, but that's just the way I feel about Dak. But the concerning part is him actually
standing on that shoulder. Comeback player of the year?
Oh, man. I don't know. You tell me.
I think yes. I mean,
and I give you my answer. You tell me first.
I think he will be. He's a quarterback who, coming off a catastrophic injury, is on an excellent offense. Furthermore, if stuff doesn't work out, let me tell you the list of blame, right, before you get to Dak. And this will last several seasons. Everyone's emotionally invested in Dak, Dallas Cowboys quarterback. We talk about him all the time. So we know the character. People want him to stay around and succeed, right? Cowboys financially invested in Dak. They want him to succeed. Now, if things don't work out, first, we'll look at the defense. How much can the offense do? Because you know the offense is going to be good, right? If the offense isn't good, we'll look at the offensive line. I don't know if the Zeke isn't running the ball, then we'll look at the offensive line, right? If that's not good, who are we going to look at? Mike McCarthy. We're not going to look at Dak. We're going to look at the coach. Coach, what's the matter? You got talent on this team. There are at least 2 years and 3 levels of excuses before people would finally turn to Dak and be like, that's the problem. He's the quarterback. He's going to have a good season if he's healthy. He's going to win Comeback Player of the Year.
So for me, I think Dak is the leading candidate. But for me, I think there's 2 guys that's on Dak's heels, right? You got to look at the Carolina Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey, right? What did they do this offseason? What did they do this offseason? They brought in Sam Darnold, right, to revitalize his career. What's the best way to do that? You have a back like C-Mac who can do it in the pass game. 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver.
Who can run between the tackles quiet as kept.
He can do it all. You can line him up all over the football field, right? So you take pressure. Who's the guy who's going to have the football more times, I'll say second most than a quarterback, the running back.
Especially
right?
one who can catch.
And he can do it out of the backfield as well as rushing the football. Another guy in the same category, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley from your Giants. I think he's another guy that can take a lot of pressure off Daniel Jones and has an opportunity to do it in the run game and the pass game to win Comeback Player of the Year. So for me, it's Dak. But for me, Max, it's Dak, Christian McCaffrey, then it's Saquon. And for C-Mac, I'll tell you this. He's the #1 running back in fantasy. Everybody picks C-Mac.
Maybe in reality too, brother.
And that offense with Joe Brady, they're building things around C-Mac, right?
Yeah.
To make Sam Darnold comfortable.
Yeah.
So he's not seeing ghosts like he's seen up here in New York.
C-Mac is Christian McCaffrey has been a monster since college.
Yes.
A monster. Saquon Barkley is like a bigger, stronger, faster Christian McCaffrey. Maybe he doesn't catch quite as well, but he can catch passes now.
He doesn't run routes like him either.
But Saquon is Saquon, and by the way, as a rookie, Saquon got over 2,000 yards from scrimmage as a 21-year-old rookie behind a bad offensive line and without a quarterback. Okay, the remains of Eli Manning at the time. He still doesn't have an offensive line, dude. There's not. If you've seen the preseason, there's nothing to run behind. So Saquon, my Saquon Barkley, I love it.
And by the way, that was hard to watch last night. Every time Daniel Jones was looking good and thriving, throwing the football,
moving the ball. We're going to get to that. But my point is, I can't go with Saquon because of the line. So it comes down to McCaffrey, who's a great pick, no question, and the quarterback.
So where do you see the gap?
Quarterback and the running back, quarterback's going to get it.
So where's the gap between Dak Prescott and Christian McCaffrey? Comeback Player of the Year. Where's the gap?
The only reason it's even not lopsided for Dak is McCaffrey does so much.
Yes,
he can, if he comes back to where he was.
And he's going to get his touches. His offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, is going to make sure he gets his touches.
An excellent quarterback with something to prove. With an offensive line, a running back, and 3 receivers, give me that dude as comeback player of the year.
He definitely has something to prove. Like I said before, 340 days since his last game. And if we ask Caesars Sportsbook, Dak has the best odds to win Comeback Player of the Year, followed by, yes?
Christian McCaffrey.
No, actually, followed by Joe Burrow.
Oh, okay.
Jameis Winston, Christian McCaffrey, and then Saquon.
Have you seen what the Bengals look like? Joe Burrow? I feel bad for Joe Burrow.
We feel bad.
Who was that by again?
Caesars Sportsbook.
Okay, they need to hire me.
Here's the only thing
about Sportsbook. You hear that? He's looking for another job. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving.
That's also the quarterback.
A lot to get to here on First Take. Might the 49ers deploy an unusual quarterback, whether it will be Jimmy G or rookie Trey Lance under center for San Fran, but we never considered it could be both. In last night's preseason finale against the Raiders, the Niners offered a glimpse of how that might work. For the 2 drives or 24 plays that most of the starters were on the field, Shanahan rotated the quarterbacks. Both drives resulted in rushing touchdowns, 1 for each quarterback in that 34-10 victory. So Kyle Shanahan, what do you think about it?
I thought they did a good job. I mean, by no means was it perfect, but I thought just the function of it and going in and out and not knowing when it's going to be, it wasn't a planned rotation or anything. I was trying to make it situational, so I was just doing it mainly off impulse and, whenever the down and distance, it felt like what we wanted to call. So those guys seemed like they handled it good.
Yeah, you definitely feel it. I think even with me and Trey running on and off, the tempo was still pretty good. So there was a couple of times getting to the line where they're still making calls and things like that, and you could tell it was tough on them. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be hard to adjust to. Now, our quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, joining us now. Max, do you like the idea of the 49ers rotating quarterbacks?
When I was a kid on Saturday Night Live, there was a character played by Dana Carvey called the Grumpy Old Man. And he would say, I don't like things now compared to the way they used to be, right? And here I am, the Grumpy Old Man, because I recognize, I was also a kid when Bill Walsh and the West Coast offense was taking over, and Bill Parcells is like, he's got to prove that works. What I do works. And I was a Giants fan and a Parcells fan, but guess what? As great as that was, Niners did even a little better. Niners were a little better. It did work. So I'm not saying it can't work. You can innovate and think, but this ain't the way it's always been done. And I think you take a risk by innovating, not if you're in a position where you don't have the horses, right? You got to do something. You got to have an asymmetrical kind of strategy. Like if you play chess and you're the black pieces, which always go second, go figure, right? If you just do the theoretically strongest move every time, you're always a step behind the white pieces who start first. So you got to do something asymmetrical. You got to do something to throw off the balance. So I get innovating like that if you need to do something. But I look at San Francisco's roster and I'm thinking, this is a Super Bowl roster. So, be careful what you do when you have, if you didn't have a quarterback who I believe in, Jimmy G, but I do. When you have a quarterback who, I will say it again because no one's listening, he wins 3 out of every 4 games, regular season and playoffs, for a team. Well, that's because, Shanahan. Really? Because when Shanahan doesn't have Jimmy G, he loses 3 out of every 4 games. Same team, same personnel. The quarterback changes, and you go from elite to terrible. And there's a big sample size here. So do I think they can win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G? Yeah. You know why? I saw it come one play away from happening. I do. Now is not the time I would mess around with rotating quarterbacks on a regular basis in the regular season.
Well, Max, I give you my take. And Charlie, to answer your question, I don't like it. I love it. Right? Because it's an advantage to the 49ers offense. Now, what does it forces defensive coordinators to do? It forces defensive coordinators, you have to stay up that much more at night to try to prepare not only for Jimmy G, but for Trey Lance and what he can do in the run game, right? What else does it do? It forces defenders on teams to have to study more information. And I'll tell you what I love from Kyle Shanahan, right? Kyle Shanahan had this wrinkle in his back pocket the entire time, even before he traded up to go get Trey Lance. And what did he do? He waited to the 3rd preseason game to throw that little wrinkle out there and throw that little bait for the rest of the NFL to see, because he wants to put everything on display and show the NFL that this is what you're going to have to prepare for. But I like the wrinkle when they drafted Trey Lance. The thought of him being involved in the run game, I thought made him to choose him over
Mac Jones.
No, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, Jimmy G, okay.
Right, when they drafted him, I liked the Trey Lance to be the starting quarterback over Jimmy Garoppolo because he has that element to his game, right? But now if you're not going to start him, you get him those reps, right? So he's not just sitting over there with a clipboard just collecting dust. You get him those reps. You get him to be a little bit more confident about himself, because there's no question.
At what point in the game, though?
Week 6.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't?
Yeah, don't have him just holding the clipboard like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes did. That never worked.
The simple fact that you don't want Trey Lance over there just sitting now, just collecting dust. If he has those intangibles to make this offense better and make this offense thrive, you put him out there in the football field in situations. Now you can control the situation a little bit until you think he is ready. I already think he's ready because I think his highs are a little bit more better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But I love the fact that they're doing this with both their quarterbacks. Now defenses have to prepare for 2 guys, Jimmy G and Trey Lance. And if they can't do it, then they're going to continue to do it out there on the football field.
All right, before I get to this question, Max, stop talking about the Jimmy Garoppolo wins with Kyle Shanahan and Kyle doesn't win with anybody else. The other 2 quarterbacks that he's had to play with are guys trying to survive in the NFL right now. They're trying to, keep jobs. It wasn't like he went from Jimmy Garoppolo into a decent backup option. Both those guys, C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins just got cut. So the fall off
after years in the league. He's been in the league for years already.
Who? 3 or 4 years. You guys are fighting for jobs in the NFL, but you're trying to make it sound like he went from Jimmy Garoppolo to a solid backup. So stop using that argument.
He went to
it's not good.
You have to compare what the quarterback does to the backup. And the reason I picked the backups, Dan, is because everyone credits Shanahan. If he's such a genius and it has nothing to do with Jimmy G, he should at least be able to survive with a backup. They couldn't survive. They could never win with a backup.
They had injuries last year. They had a ton of injuries, Max.
Players have proven to be backup quarterbacks. That's my point. Neither of those guys have proven to be backup quarterbacks. They're fighting just to survive.
For a while.
He just got cut.
Yes, eventually everyone gets cut, especially backup quarterbacks, Dan.
All right, that's not the question. It's a year move. Stop using that argument. Listen, it only becomes an issue if one of the players starts to perform perform poorly. Okay? If both of these guys are going in and out of the games and they're playing well, that's fine. But if Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter and he's playing good and then they're bringing in Trey Lance and the offense sputters, then it starts to become an issue in the locker room. Or Jimmy's the starter and he's not playing well and then Trey Lance comes in and the offense takes off, then it starts to become an issue in the locker room. But I don't think this is an issue if both of them are playing well. Now, to be a rare offense in the NFL right now, you need to be able to do two of two things. One, you got to be able to do whatever you want in the pass game. Throw the ball all around the yard. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo does a good job of that. And then number two, you really want to be able to play 11 on 11 in the run game, utilizing the quarterback run. And that's where Trey Lance is going to come in. And so I truly believe that the organization and Kyle wanted Trey Lance to go take this starting job in preseason, similar to what it seems that Mac Jones has done in New England. He just didn't do it. And Harry, to your point of forcing these defensive coordinators to try to think about this. This team's first 5 games, their first 2 games against Detroit and Philadelphia, both new staffs. So now imagine both of these coaching staffs having to get ready to coach their first game ever as head coaching and coaching staffs in the NFL. By the way, prepare for 2 different quarterbacks and 2 different offenses. Well, San Francisco starts 2-0. Then Green Bay, we're going to be fighting them for a playoff spot and likely playoff seeding. And then 2 division games, Seattle and Arizona. You're forcing these really meaningful games by gaining an advantage and likely going to be able to steal either a win or 2 in those first 5 games. Then week 6 comes. Now you've gotten Trey Lance 60, 70 snaps. Maybe he's a little bit more comfortable. You stole a win or 2, and here comes your bye week.
Guys, he didn't play a lot in college.
That you want. I'm the guy who stated that, Max. He needs reps. He needs reps.
But he also needs time. Like, look, the Pats and the Niners, to me, are in very similar positions in the sense that they have brand-name quarterbacks, and people don't believe in those brands. They don't really believe in Jimmy G or Cam Newton anymore. And maybe everyone else is right, and I'm wrong. But when I take a close look at Jimmy G and a close look at Cam, not in how they get it done, but the results. When I see the results of both guys quarterbacking teams, to me, it seems as though they've both been to Super Bowls. They could get a team to a Super Bowl, and Jimmy G, one throw away from winning it, you can win it with them. So on rosters where you are ready to win a Super Bowl, with quarterbacks on the rosters who are young and promising with big upsides in the future, but are relatively inexperienced, especially in Trey Lance's case, I understand people don't believe in Jimmy G or Cam Newton. I would just say take a closer look. You may be surprised at the results that they have achieved recently.
Okay, let me ask you this, Max. So, first of all, they're different situations because right now in New England, Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Cam Newton, and in 3 months is going to be a better quarterback than Cam Newton. Okay? Trey Lance, here's the question that San Francisco, and this is the one I'll pose to you. Who's a better quarterback today, Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Jimmy Garoppolo would be where my money is.
Now, who makes the offense better, Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Don't do it to him, Dan.
The thing is, Trey Lance going to have to do that consistently.
That's the thing. Max, that's
I don't
the
know.
thing.
Don't do it to him, Dan.
There is more upside with Trey Lance. I'll put it that way. There's more upside with Trey Lance.
And the downsides are going to be similar. Jimmy Garoppolo throws an interception almost like every game. So he doesn't stay healthy and he gives the ball away.
The health is the main thing. That's why they have Trey Lance.
Mobile quarterbacks are historically proven. We did a study on this on NFL Live like a month ago. They just don't turn the ball over as much because their athleticism gives them another part of progression where they don't have to panic with the football. Where statue quarterbacks or pocket passers like myself, like Jimmy Garoppolo, we don't have that.
It's a little different.
We have to throw the ball.
It's a little different because Alex Smith was a mobile quarterback. Alex Smith.
Who's going to make your offense better? Maybe not September
Patrick Mahomes would have made the Chiefs' offense better year 1 than Alex Smith from everything that was coming out of it. Like everyone who looked at Patrick Mahomes said, "Oh my God!" But you know what they did? They were patient. They had a good quarterback in Alex Smith, a veteran, and a team that could make the playoffs, and it did. And then the next year, they gave the ball to Patrick Mahomes, the biggest success story in the history of sports.
But Patrick would not be utilized in the quarterback run game like Trey Lance would be. So now we're taking an offense. Kyle Shanahan has had 3 top 5 offenses as a coordinator in the NFL. RG3, Matt Ryan, and Jimmy Garoppolo. We're talking about an offense that is if not the hardest, one of the hardest in the NFL to prepare, and now we're giving it another superpower element. Will he miss more throws than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes. But he is also going to have more parts of the quarterback run game with their offensive. Mostert's going to be better. The offensive line will be better. The pass game will be easier. It's just going to be
if
easier.
If he could keep that up all season as a rookie with a thick college resume.
I'll say this, fellas. I'll say this. That's why I think it's important, Max. If they're not going to start Trey Lance, that they control the package that he does have into a ball game, right? So when you bring him in for a couple snaps to do this zone read, all kind of things like that. I think
I'm not against that.
Now
that's different than rotating the guys.
But I'm just saying,
though,
now you're controlling the narrative. You're controlling his play, right? You say he needs to grow. If you feel like he needs to grow, then that's a way to do that. Just give him packages that he can go in on and be successful.
Here and there, right. I'm not saying they're each getting 50% of the snaps.
Oh, my gosh.
Listen, by listening to all of you talk about it, it does seem like there's a lot of upside to this strategy. But, Dan, like you mentioned, this could lead to some disruption in the locker room if it's not executed properly. So both guys will completely have to be on board if this is the way that Kyle Shanahan decides to go. Okay, Dan, you are sticking with us for the next segment. But for now, we're going to take a quick break because guess what? Decisions. Will the mastermind Bill Belichick go with Cam or Mac? We will debate what's at stake for Belichick to get it right this season. Year 17. Okay, is Tua's starting spot in Miami in jeopardy? According to Yahoo Sports, the Miami Dolphins have emerged as the front-runner in trade talks for Houston Texans star Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, is still under investigation after being accused by massage therapists of multiple accounts of sexual misconduct. According to Yahoo, someone from a team that dropped out of trade discussions for the quarterback, the Texans are seeking 3 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round selections in exchange for Watson. So here's Miami head coach Brian Flores about when he was asked about the matter.
I would say I'm interested in the players that are on our team. You know, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in, Reed Sinnett, who went out there and played, his butt off tonight. I'm interested in Jared Dokes, who we talked about, a second ago. I'm interested in the guys who, that didn't play today, that, we're focused on our recovery and being fresh for next week. That's what I would say. I mean, I'm interested in the players on the Miami Dolphins.
Dan Orlovsky's still here with us. Now, this is far from the first time the Dolphins have been linked to Deshaun. So, Max, if these rumors are true, what does this say? Is it more about what the Dolphins think of Tua Tagovailoa or Deshaun Watson?
If the rumors are true, at this point, it's about Tua. Now, let me explain. Originally, I was as loud as anyone, and as soon as it was like Deshaun Watson wants to be traded, Miami. Miami makes the most sense for Deshaun. Why? Well, usually, like Deshaun wanted to win, right? Usually a team that trades for a guy like Deshaun is giving up so much that can't be very good in the future. But Miami's young, talented, and they have extra draft picks through shrewd GMing, really. Not because they stunk, but because they made deals, right? So there's a warm weather destination, a team with a national following, in fact, going back to, the perfect season, and then Dan Marino and everything, who's really good. No-name defense, but they can play. They bring in Jalen Waddle. I mean, that dude can turn 5-yard pass and take it to the house. And they have an excellent coach. Remember when, not long ago, we were asking, is this the worst team in NFL history? They looked like they quit on Brian Flores early in the season, and he turned it around. That season, that's a coach. And the whole league is really, you want to boil it down, coach and quarterback. You got a coach and you got a quarterback, you're all right. So I looked at Deshaun and thought, oh my God, that fit in Miami. He's a superstar quarterback, a team that's ready to win. He can take them over the top, right? Plus, you could trade Tua, who may turn out to be a good NFL quarterback, and some draft picks because you have a lot of draft capital. Make it happen. At this point, though, the off-field problems that Deshaun Watson has, when you say massage therapists, plural, we're not talking about 2 or 3. The last I count is over 20. Mm-hmm. Over 20. That's right. So unless there's some massive conspiracy, something's, this is not good. And so at this point, if the rumors are true that they're engaged in a trade talking about multiple first-round picks, at that point, to me, it becomes about Tua. Because why would you be that desperate for a distressed asset, still overpaying for it, if you believed in your guy? That tells me you see a possibility with Deshaun Watson, and you're willing to deal with the Texans as though he's not a distressed asset, because that's how bad you want him. That tells me they don't believe in their guy.
Yeah, this is about Deshaun Watson. All right, so I love chicken parm. I love chicken parm. If I could pick one food to eat for the rest of my life, it's chicken parm. It's the best dish to ever come out of Italy. Don't tell me it's not from Italy, okay, everybody? So
yeah, if you're not Italian.
It's from Italy. So it's a great Italian dish, chicken parm. But you know what I love to do with my chicken parm? Instead of putting red sauce, marinara sauce on it, I put vodka sauce on it. And then I put them, because it takes it to the next level. And Tua's chicken parm, Deshaun's chicken parm with my vodka sauce on it. It just goes to the next level. I love Tua. I'm a big supporter of Tua. I've had Tua's back over the last year. I think he's going to be a really, really, really good pro. Deshaun Watson is a known commodity. I'm not touching the off-the-field conversation. I'm just keeping this on the field. He's a known commodity. There are questions still attached to Tua Tagovailoa on the field. There is not about Deshaun Watson on the field. He is a top 5 player at
if he can get on the field.
But he's a top. I'm not touching the off-field stuff. He's a top 5 player on the field. He is that.
Yeah, but the teams have to deal with that, Dan. That's why. That
would probably be figured out before the deal goes through.
I agree. Your information better be correct if you're going to do it. That's all I've said about it. You better be right. But as far as comparing the players, there is stuff that Deshaun Watson does that only a handful of quarterbacks in the NFL can do. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers type stuff. As far as a physical talent and the ability to just go be a playmaker, he is special and he is rare. And he is a guy that you bona fide, once you get him on your football team, we can win a Super Bowl because of that guy. Not because we can win a Super Bowl with that guy, we can win a Super Bowl because of him. And I'm not there to jump that hoop to say that about Tua. I'm not there to say that there aren't questions attached to Tua, both performance and health-wise. Again, I love his game, and he's going to be very good. But Deshaun Watson is a known commodity. He is a question that's already been answered. He's an upgrade to the best dish ever, chicken parm. You put a little vodka sauce on it, that's Deshaun Watson. He is an upgrade.
I'll say for me, guys, I think it's both. It says a lot about Tua, and it says a lot about Deshaun Watson as well. When you look at Tua, right, he's not grasping things as quickly as they would like last year, right? When you look in the draft and you look at a guy that they could have drafted, Justin Herbert, in that spot as well. I know the Dolphins are kicking themselves. I know the fans are kicking themselves about that as well. But when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, I think everything is moving slower than the Miami Dolphins organization would like things to move, right? And you look at this football team entirely. You look at the overhaul. This is a Super Bowl caliber team with a good quarterback, right? And they're just one quarterback away from, I'll say, winning the AFC East, being in contention to win a Super Bowl. Now, you look at Deshaun Watson. He's a guy who passed for over 4,800 yards last year, guys. 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He completed 70% of his passes. I have Deshaun Watson as top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now.
If he's on the field.
If he's on the football
arguably,
field.
yep.
So if you trade for him, and I do believe, if you trade for Deshaun Watson, it has to – Houston can't rob Peter and pay Paul, right? There has to be some legal language in there. If this happens, if this goes on, then we get our picks back, or vice versa. You know what I mean? That has to be stipulations in the contracts. But I will say this. If the Miami Dolphins, and I put this on my Twitter, if the Miami Dolphins get Deshaun Watson, the AFC is going to be so crazy.
No doubt.
And the AFC East has just been shaken up. I am no longer picking the Bills to win the AFC East, because at that point, I don't know who's going to win the AFC East.
Look,
Deshaun
there's Mahomes and Rodgers and Brady, right? That's in a different category. If Watson's on the field, there's Watson, Allen, Herbert, and Russell Wilson probably. That's the very next group. And Watson's good argument, he's leading that group.
Well, he was great last year on a bad team. So they basically just wasted a year down there in Houston. But Deshaun Watson, man, when you look at his play on the field, I'm just talking about on the field, Max, he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. Mm-hmm. He can not only do it with his legs, he can do it with his arms. And we heard what Dabo Swinney said. He's the Michael Jordan of football.
Won a national title, and the year before.
Whatever team you go to.
Yeah.
They're going to be in contention.
He was the best player on the field when they lost the national title. Yeah. And then he won it with a miracle play after miracle play. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson can do a lot with bad teams. Even last season with a bad team, he's still at the 3rd best completion percentage, only behind Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. So it says a lot about him. Dan, thank you so very much. Always appreciated your insight and your time.
And Dan, make sure you put some seasoning on your food, man.
Yeah,
Come on,
look, all you're talking about the chichicken parm with the vodka sauce. I don't know about all that. But
as soon as you started talking about that, I said, my God.
First of all, the man's starving to death by dinner. Dan doesn't eat anything all day. By dinner, you give him anything he thinks is delicious.
It's called intermittent fasting.
I don't eat food for taste. I eat it for fuel.
Wow. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, right?
Minute on the lips, lifetime on the hips. There we go.
All right, guys, let's keep it moving. I want to ask, who is the real favorite heading into the season, the champs or the runner-up? The guys debate who they think will hoist the Super Bowl trophy this year. And did you know that Cam spelled backwards is Mac and Mac spelled backwards is Cam? But you know what?
One's true, the other half.
That is all we know because Billy B has yet to name a starter. Is the pressure starting to rise? Already know the goal in Kansas City: protect Patrick Mahomes at all costs. And the Chiefs did that with the complete rebuild of the offensive line. 3 rookies will start in front of the star when the season opens against the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs went undefeated this preseason, and Patrick Mahomes wasn't sacked once in all 3 games. Mahomes with nothing but praise for his O-line after last night's win over the Vikings.
I think they've had an amazing preseason. I haven't got hit a lot. I don't think I really got touched today, and that just speaks to them and how they've been playing. They've done a great job, and they're getting better each and every week, so I'm excited for the season.
Super Bowl champion Jeff Saturday joins us now. Max, who's your favorite to win the Super Bowl this season? Is it the Chiefs or is it the Bucs?
It is the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, the most spectacular player on the field in the last Super Bowl was Patrick Mahomes. The only guy everyone's going to remember forever from that Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes. He's the best player on the field. Now, he didn't do anything statistically because he was running for his life. But he made superhuman plays that no one else in the history of football, maybe Aaron Rodgers, could have made consistently. And he did it consistently. Unbelievable. And Todd Bowles, listen, you guys can fill me in on the nuances of the defense and everything. And he's very good defensively, I get it. But I think he's getting a little too much credit for, he was a genius. He didn't bring any extra guys. Why would you? They were missing both starting tackles, 3 guys off the offensive line. Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes was pressured on a higher percentage of snaps than anyone in Super Bowl history, and everyone was always covered because you never had to bring anyone. Yeah, of course that's what you do. Now, Jeff Saturday, I know the Bucs are very impressive, and you loved them last year. I'm sure you love them again. But I don't think you appreciate how important an offensive line is. So let me tell you, I know you played on one and won a championship. But I simulated a season on Madden once, and after several tries, actually won a Super Bowl. I think I have some credibility here. Jeff, they brought in, think of this job. Like, I'm a Giants fan, and I had to listen to Dave Gettleman talk about hog mollies and everything 3 years ago, and they're worse than ever. One off season. They bring in Orlando Brown Jr. from a rival in the AFC. All-pro level. They bring in Joe Tooney, left side, locked down at an elite level. 1 season, all-pro level. They bring in Austin Blythe. I think a solid guy from the Rams. That's good. Is he even going to start? Because they love Creed Humphrey, who they stole, right? They buy Austin Blythe. They just, Remmers is solid. He's on the right side. They just fixed the offensive line in 1 season where on paper, they should absolutely be top 10. So guess what? That whole defensive strategy last year, the genius of not bringing extra guys, guess again. And this time, Patrick Mahomes ain't playing on a bum wheel. Good luck, everybody. Oh, by the way, you also have a running back now with a season under his belt who can do a whole lot. Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl if they stay healthy because they have, after everything I just said, they have Patrick Mahomes, who's the best I've ever seen.
Max, I love you, and my favorite part is you try to use my own weapon against me.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Get me so excited about you know what I mean? Like he baited me in. He even sprinkled in the Giants, knowing last night I'm on tilt already, just watching Thomas on the edge, and so he's throwing that in on me, and it's a fantastic argument, and it is well put together, and it all is holistically true. Veach should get a ton of credit about what he did on the offensive line. I do agree with you. They will be phenomenal offensively. It's the defense that I hold issue with. And I think what's going to happen and what will bear out, and I fully agree with you on the Todd Bowles in the Super Bowl. You didn't need to do anything because your 4 could beat their 5, and they did it repeatedly, right? So you didn't have to do anything. You could play back, do what you wanted to do. That's not going to be the same this year. I still don't buy the fact that the Bucs didn't get better collectively as the season progressed last year, and especially after the bye week. So with all that being said, I think they continue to move forward. I think with O.J. Howard coming back at tight end, again, to balance or to add another weapon to the plethora that Tom Brady already has, I think they are loaded to bear. I think they're physically more dominating than the Chiefs. And so when I look at that, I agree with you on Patrick Mahomes. He is a special player. But when it gets down to brass tacks, I would take both the Bucs defensive line and their offensive line over what we have in Kansas City. So as well played out and well thought out as your argument, and it is all true about what they've done, I still think I tilt the edge to the Bucs O-line and D-line in totality, and that's going to be the difference maker because all else is going to be equal when it comes to scoring points. They can both put them up, but who can stop them better? I give Todd Bowles and that defense with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a slight edge over the Chiefs.
For me, I'm going with the Super Bowl defending champions. We're going with the Tampa Bay Bucs, Max. When I watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the other night versus the Houston Texans, and I seen Tom Brady in this offense go 11 personnel, right? And go up and down the field where Tom Brady's calling plays. Oh, let me throw it to Antonio Brown here. Oh, you know what? I hit Chris Godwin up the seam. Oh, you know what? Let me get Mike Evans involved, right? I look at that personnel and I see how things went then. But let me talk about their personnel a little bit more. They can go 12 personnel with one back, two tight ends, and two receivers and do the same thing up and down the football field. I'll take it a step further, Max. They can go 13 personnel.
I know they can run out three tight ends.
One running back, three tight ends who are athletic, and one wide receiver, and go no huddle and do the same exact thing because 13. Their three tight ends are better than your three defenders who will probably be guarding them. Yeah, not to mention, when you bring in three defenders, tight ends into the game, you have to match personnel. Because if you don't match personnel, they're going to gas you in the run game. Now, when I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your argument for the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs was right. But don't make it sound like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line.
No, they got an excellent offensive line.
And like Jeff Saturday said, their defense, in my eyes, are better than the Kansas City Chiefs defense.
I agree, but I think the Chiefs have a chance if things break their way to be a top 10 defense. In fact, I think they can be good, but I agree with you. Bucs have better offensive line, or you would take the Bucs front on both sides of the ball
100%.
Over the Kansas City front. I agree with that. And by the way, the 13 personnel thing, people are forgetting O.J. Howard.
Cameron Brate, and Gronk.
Until this last draft, O.J. Howard was the most celebrated tight end out of college in 10 years, probably, right? Until this last draft.
Yes.
But I'll tell you this.
Let me just say this real quick. I agree with everything you guys are saying. To me, what the difference, what the tiebreaker is Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. He's a guy at his best where I saw Aaron Rodgers and was like, well, that's the best I've ever seen. I know Brady's greater and everything, but the best I've ever seen is Aaron Rodgers. Not anymore. The best I've ever seen, if I have to split hairs and take a guy, is Patrick Mahomes. He can do things no one else except Rodgers can do, ever. And you give him weapons now, and you protect him, and you give him a solid defense, he's different.
But, Max, you can't discredit the Tampa Bay Buccaneers even having an offseason this year. Those guys won the Super Bowl without even having an offseason, without even being able to build a continuity.
All true.
Now they've had an offseason to actually do that. Yep. Now they're going to start the season off on the same page because they didn't start off on the same page last year. It was a little rocky early on, but now all of these guys are going to be on the same page. They're going to be working together. They're going to be going up and down football fields, and I just think they have the best chances to repeat as Super Bowl champions in 2021.
Yeah, listen, and I will say this. I think the most exciting part from a fan's perspective, and I think all three of us agree with this, great teams got better. And it's just rare in the NFL when you see, usually when a team wins a Super Bowl, it all gets blown up and everybody's going everywhere. Not this time, right? The Chiefs have really held it together for 3+ years and will continue to hold it together because of what kind of deal Patrick Mahomes signed. I think the excitement is the great got even better, and we get to sit in a seat and watch this thing and watch these people tee off on each other. I don't know that it gets any better. And we're not even talking about the Browns and other teams whose rosters have gotten significantly better as well. I just think we are at a fantastic time in the game that we can talk about the two Super Bowl football teams are better this year than they were last year. And that's never happened before.
Only one's playing with a chip on their shoulder, though.
Well,
only one's playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Side note, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers returned 22 starters.
I was going to say identical
offense
squad.
and defense.
And they just won a Super Bowl, same team.
No doubt, but Kansas City's looking for revenge.
Yes, okay, so Kansas City is looking for revenge, and according to Caesars Sportsbook, they have slightly better odds at plus 500 rather than plus 650 for the Bucs. So
that's Mahomes' odds.
Right now, they are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. We'll see how that goes. Jeff, you'll be back with us in just a bit.
I'm telling you, Jeff, the offensive line is an important part of the game. One day you'll understand this.
He's trying to reel you in, Jeff. He's trying to reel you in.
It's underrated. I know it's not as sexy as the quarterback. I know it's not as sexy as the quarterback, but it's really important, Jeff said.
Don't you take the bait, Jeff.
Don't take it. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving. Jerry Jones says Dak Prescott will be ready to rock week 1, but are his lingering injuries? Now, the biggest question on everyone's minds around the New England Patriots is who is going to start at quarterback after an unprecedented run of success with Tom Brady under center. Belichick got inconsistent play from that position last year, which then led to the team drafting Mac Jones in the first round back in April. Both Cam Newton and Mac Jones had strong performances this preseason in the battle to be the starter. Jones played twice as many series as Newton, 14-7, and both men threw for a single touchdown. The Pats opened the season September 12th against the Dolphins. Now here's Bill on the quarterback.
Do you feel like you need to make a decision soon because the style of the two players is fairly different?
I feel like whatever we do in the next couple days, like every day, should be what's best for our football team, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay, so that sound just from this morning, so very fresh. It's what's on his mind. Harry, what is at stake for Bill Belichick this season?
Can I just laugh for a second, Charlie? Because for some reason, I love seeing Bill Belichick do interviews.
I mean, who doesn't?
Because his demeanor it never changes whatsoever.
He's very authentic.
It never changes. But I'll tell you, what's at stake for the New England Patriots? Well, number one, winning, Charlie. You look at this organization in the last 20 years, the last 2 decades, they've only had 3 losing seasons. And 2 of those losing seasons was without Tom Brady, right? Number 2, I'll say the fan base. This fan base is used to a winner. And you look at the Boston area, period, right? You look at the Bruins, they win. You look at the Red Sox, they win. You look at the Celtics, they win. Everyone in that city is accustomed to their sports teams winning. So winning for the fans. Number 3, I'm going to go with Bill Belichick's pride. Bill Belichick is a prideful guy. He doesn't like seeing other people win and not seeing the New England Patriots, who he controls from a general manager standpoint and a head coaching standpoint, not win. So those are the 3 things for me when it comes to the Patriots.
I'll tell you what's at stake for Bill Belichick. His entire legacy. That's what's at stake for Bill Belichick. It's his legacy. And let me tell you why. It's very hard in real life experiments to get it perfect. Like, let me give you an example. The 49ers and Jimmy G. Here we have a guy who's missed so much time for one team that we can see the sample size is large when he plays for the team and when he doesn't. And I pointed out that when he plays for the
Let's
team,
hear it again.
they win 3 out of 4 games. When he doesn't, they lose 3 out of 4. For the same team. They don't go 500
you
without
love
him.
you some Jimmy G.
He loves that stat.
They don't go 500 without him. They go 1 out of 4 instead of 3 out of 4. Dan Orlovsky comes on and says, well, look who the backups are. It's never going to be a perfect experiment, but we go by the evidence we have, right? Nick Mullins, by the way, not the worst guy in the world, but like always, it's never going to be perfect. So I'm not saying it's perfect with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, because life isn't, and real life experiments are not going to be perfect. You just have to take the data that you get. But what do we have? What have we seen? By the way, without Tom Brady, they did have a winning season with Matt Castle. Tom Brady.
They didn't make the playoffs.
They didn't make the playoffs, but they won 11 games, 10 with Matt Castle. Belichick can coach. And for years, I was using that example. You know, people say, well, they just went undefeated the year before, so that's a big fall off. I know that they won 10 games.
That's a losing season in the Patriots organization.
But the fact is, I know they won 10 games, 11 altogether. Matt Castle is a starting quarterback. So I would tell everyone, don't tell me about Bill Belichick with the Browns. Get out of here with that, right? And even last year, wait a minute. Brady made sure the cupboard was bare because he had Jimmy Garoppolo shipped out of town. When Belichick wouldn't do it, he went to Kraft and the owner said ship him out of town. So there's nothing to replace Brady with. And there are no offensive weapons. It's one of the reasons he left. And there's COVID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that would be one thing. If the Patriots did what they did, and Tampa Bay went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Tampa Bay didn't win a playoff.
No, they did much more.
They won the Super Bowl. And yes, Aaron Rodgers had his offensive line damaged. Mahomes had his ravaged. But the bottom line is, year one, by the way, Tom Brady stacked the deck. It was a loaded team. Jameis threw 30 interceptions. They still won 7 games the year before. 30 interceptions. They won 7 games. A loaded team. He brought in Antonio Brown and Gronk to a loaded team, and Leonard Fournette, who was great, I
wouldn't be surprised at some point if he tell Jules to come on down there, Julian Edelman.
Right? The point is, but these guys could all still really play. So he stacked the deck in his favor.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't won the Super Bowl, I would bring all that stuff up like, oh, wait a minute. He beat, extenuating circumstances be damned. He went through Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball to win the freaking Super Bowl in his first year.
And did it without Bill Belichick.
In his first year without him in the NFC. Not all those years where it was like, well, the best quarterback you ever had in your division was Chad Pennington for a few years before he got hurt. Get at it. It's the worst 20-year run of quarterbacks ever in the history of football in a division. All you had to do, since you're going to win the division every year, is win one home playoff game. You're in the AFC Championship game. Big deal, Tom. Year one, he won the Super Bowl. And Belichick had a losing season. So in real-world experiments, I can give you all the excuses for Belichick and all the reasons. No one's going to remember that. They're going to remember what Bill Belichick did without Tom Brady. This season, his legacy is on the line. He is the greatest coach in the history of American team sports by far when you think of what Belichick did until last year. And now all those people who had that, was it more Belichick or Brady? The greatest argument in sports of the 20th century, along now with Jordan or LeBron, because LeBron has a lot of people believing, right? The greatest argument, I was always on Belichick's side. Come on, it's the coach, it's football, it's the coach. Not anymore. Not if Belichick has another losing season. No.
So now let me say this. When I said losing seasons, I meant actually the Patriots, if they don't make the playoffs, that's in their eyes, that's considered a losing season.
Traditionally, yes.
Yes. You know what I mean? So, but let me tell you this. I had the opportunity of interviewing Asante Samuel on my show, The HD Connection. And I asked Asante Samuel about the Bill Belichick and the Patriot way. You want to know what Asante told me? It's not Bill Belichick in the Patriot way. Tom Brady is the Patriot way. And he gave all the credit to Tom Brady. I also talked to Deion Branch. Deion Branch told me, I said, what does Tom Brady do to make guys better? He said, it's not necessarily what Brady does to make people better. He just elevates, he makes everyone around him elevate their play. He makes everybody goes here, right? So when I look at that and I look at Asante Samuel, he said, well, it's not Bill Belichick in the Patriot way, and Tom Brady is the Patriot way. You're right, Max. Bill Belichick's legacy is on the line. Because if he can't win this year and Tom Brady continues to win in Tampa, then the questions are going to circle back around. Was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? So I agree.
The answer is going to be, by and large, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Even people like me who said Belichick all these years are going to have to say, extenuating circumstances, I said, be damned. This is what actually wound up happening. This is the evidence we have. It's imperfect, but it's what we got.
Yeah, this will definitely determine the ending of what could be one of the greatest sports movies. Jerry Jones announced on the Cowboys pregame show on 105.3 The Fan that Dak Prescott was, quote, good to go for the Cowboys season opener against the Bucs in just 10 days. Jones said Dak, quote, turned it loose in practice and was none the worse for it. Okay. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy also pumped to get him back to work with the focus now on Tampa Bay. Listen.
With a little less than 2 weeks here to the opener, how do you assess where you stand and how much work needs to be done to be ready for that opener?
I mean, Captain Obvious, we're full steam ahead to Tampa. I mean, we've lost some opportunities to practice, with Dak. So, now that he's back, it's, our focus really, part of Kellen's focus and Dak's focus really has been this past week. We need to get as much in as we possibly can between now and the Tampa Bay game. So our focus is on Tampa.
They are letting Dak loose. Jeff Saturday back with us. Jeff, are you more confident or more concerned with Dak Prescott this season?
Man, I'm more confident. Are we serious? Like, he got a little shoulder soreness and everybody's off the Dak train. Didn't we just make him the highest paid quarterback and he's going to do all these things? He's got weapons galore. Like, you think about Michael Gallup is his 3. I mean, you got Lamb, you got Cooper. You have a good offensive line where 3 of those guys are coming back. You got Zeke Elliott. I mean, the table is set. All you got to do is go execute. So, no, I am very confident that Dak is going to have an incredible season. I'm excited to see it. Do I care if it starts a little slow in week 1 or it's not great against Tampa Bay? No, because I know it's a 17-game season, and he has been pushed a little bit behind because of the shoulder. But when you talk about Dak Prescott, like, we're all of a sudden not going to be Dak fans because he had, shoulder stiffness in training camp. Like, there's no way I would not be confident in him. I think this kid plays under pressure as well as any quarterback I've seen. I've never seen him be overwhelmed in the moment, look out of sorts in the moment. Certain dudes just kind of have it, right? When they hit the huddle, they just look calm, they look composed, and I think that exemplifies what Dak has done ever since he replaced Tony Romo. So I'm excited to see Dak. Like I said, do I think week 1 will look like week 4? No, but I also understand how an NFL season works, and I think you better be more confident in Dak Prescott for the 2021 season, much more than being concerned.
I'm just happy that Jeff Saturday finally is coming around on the O-line and the importance of the O-line.
Jeff,
him out.
Do not let him do it, Jeff. He's trying to reel you in again. Don't you take the bait, Jeff. But I'll say for me, Jeff, I said this earlier. I think it's both for me, right? Am I confident in Dak as a football player to go out there and perform and do well for this football team? 100%. But my concern lies on the simple fact that he does have this shoulder soreness, right? And I'm concerned that they do play the Bucs the first game of the year, who has a lethal pass rush, who has a guy named Todd Bowles, that if he has to, is going to dial up the pressure. So when you have those things, if Dak Prescott takes a sack, right, and he gets driven into the ground, which guys shouldn't be doing now in the NFL anyway, but just say it happens, and he lands on that shoulder, and that shoulder gets a little sore, I'm concerned about Dak's mental capacity when he relies on his shoulder to throw the football down the field, to get the football to these lethal weapons that he do have. That's the only concern I do have when it comes to Dak Prescott.
I'm not worried about Dak Prescott's play if he's healthy. I do think, and Joe Theismann was on my radio show last week talking about how when you have an injury to a lower extremity, like, why does the shoulder show up? Now, obviously, it makes sense. You need to compensate somehow, right? And so that could be an ongoing concern because once there's a weakness and you're getting hit and all that, okay. And he hasn't practiced a lot, but Dak is a very good player. And as I said earlier, Jeff, if there was any questions, I knew he was good. My question is could he be elite, or is he looking a little better than he really is based on, playing from behind and they have to air it out? He's putting up numbers, great offensive line. Then you saw Andy Dalton play for that same team. You're like, oh, no, Dak is a huge plus over a replacement level guy. And Andy Dalton knows what he's doing. He's a competent guy. And Dak is just much, much better. I'll say this, why I'm confident also. Guys, if it doesn't work out, if they have a bad season, and I'm anticipating the Cowboys underperform this year, as usual.
What?
Yep. As usual. It happens every year. Why is everyone acting surprised? Dak was healthy 2 years ago, and they were 8-8. They didn't make the playoffs, and it was the worst division ever. And then last year, he was under 500 when he got hurt. Let's not act like this is something new. But if it doesn't work out, let me tell you the list of people who will be blamed before Dak, because we can see Dak can play, right? Number one, we're going to say if he's not protected, if he were to get hurt again, the offensive line was not the same as it used to be, where it was every year the best in the league. It was like that old offensive line when they were winning Super Bowls. That was the best in the business. Not that anymore. It wasn't last year because of injury. Maybe they can't get back there. Two, if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't run like we think he can, Zeke got paid. He was never the same, even though he came in shape. And if the offensive line isn't as good as it used to be, that can happen too. Three, this probably should have been one. The defense. The defense was one of the worst defenses you will ever see last year. They can be significantly better and still be among the worst in the league, right? And then finally, if it's none of those things, or even if you cycle through each one of them and address them, we're going to blame the coach. We're going to say Mike McCarthy shouldn't have had the job in the first place. To my mind, Dak has 3-4 levels of excuses and other places to look, and at least 2 seasons of that before he's looked at. And because I know he is good, I'm saying I'm confident that Dak won't be part of the problem. He'll be part of the solution.
Okay, so Jeff, you just heard that Max say he believes that the Cowboys are going to underperform this season yet again. I want to ask you, because you seem to have a lot of confidence in Dak Prescott. We know he's a big difference maker. Do you see Dallas as the favorites to win the NFC East?
I do. And listen, as good as the Washington football team is, I think this is the year they take a step. And I'll tell you why. As much as we like Todd Bowles, I like Dan Quinn. And I think the defensive coordinator, I know it's going to take time to get his defense and the right players in the right spot. One thing that you can guarantee about a Dan Quinn coach defense, they will hustle. They will flat out fly around. And that makes a difference in the NFL. And it sounds so cliche, but the truth is, so many plays last year for Dallas was lack of effort, and you will not have that with DQ. So when I look at that, I think that brings that defense up to a mid-tier defense, and with the offense the Cowboys have, I think they set themselves apart in the NFC East this season.
Jeff, I agree with you. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. And when you look at this defense, Jeff, the defense doesn't have to be great because of what they have offensively. Right. They just have to be decent and do enough to get them over the hump so the offense can take them to the promised land. Now, let's get to Max for a second. Max, you think the New York Football Giants is going to win the NFC East, right?
Well, I did.
Max, just answer the question.
I have to go Washington at this point because I've seen the offensive line in the preseason.
Okay, Jeff.
That's the problem. I can't believe it's worse than ever.
Jeff, I asked him that because I was going to let you go and tell him and ask him, is he high? By even saying that.
Yes.
There we go.
Look, here was my thought. Let me say, Jeff.
He knows.
Yeah. Jeff, let me just say, this was my thought. Dallas has the best offense. Mm-hmm. Washington has the best defense.
Right.
If the Giants' O-line just improved 10, 15%, the Giants would have the second best offense and second best defense in the conference. They'd be the most well-rounded team. I thought they looked well coached last year. They have a ton of talent on offense now. They had a nice, good defense. I wouldn't say elite, but maybe the step below elite defense in the NFL. So I thought they were the most well-balanced team. I've seen preseason that, if anything, the offensive line looks worse than ever. So I have to, at this moment, move off the Giants. Now, look, Fitzmagic, if that's your starting quarterback, what that means is you don't have a quarterback. No knock against him.
Damn.
He is an NFL quarterback with a long and good career. Mostly
I do love his energy.
Backup or as a starter in the absence of a real franchise quarterback. I'll still take them over the Cowboys.
No, so listen. Let me start with the Giants and the 2-2 because I do agree. Here's the problem with the Giants. The Giants could honestly make some tweaks and changes, like maybe move Solder back over to left, and I think it was Pratt, I can't remember the guy who the right tackle for him last year. Put him back over. I mean, that's it. Yeah, put him back over. Get kind of solidify that back over. There's some moves that they could potentially make because the Thomas situation. He has to be better just one-on-one. Like, it's not a schematic issue. And if they can get his performance up, I agree they could make a huge step. The problem for me with the Giants is you have a quarterback who doesn't get rid of the ball quickly. You have an offensive line that's kind of on tilt. Those two combinations lead to more turnovers for Daniel Jones. That's going to be the problem, right? Their defense will keep them in games, but the problem is Daniel Jones will sit in the pocket a little too long. The edge won't be quite as clean as it should be, and I think that's when turnovers rack up when you look at this.
Let me ask something. Is Eric Flowers a left tackle in the NFL right now? Like, Eric Flowers, actually, he can play some left tackle. Not on the Giants, he couldn't. They spent, the 9th pick in the draft on him? Andrew Thomas, they had their pick of any left tackle in the draft. There were tons of good ones. They took the worst one, right? But is he actually the worst one? Or is it that he plays for the Giants and they can't coach the offensive line? Jeff, I'm asking. I don't know. All I know is it's been a decade since they've had an offensive line.
Who picked those guys, Max?
Don't start me on Gettleman. Don't start me on Gettleman. Don't start me on Gettleman.
Okay, look, we will find out soon enough whether the NFC East will still be known as the NFC least. Dak Prescott coming back for the first time in 340 days. Okay, Jeff, we got to say goodbye to you, but thank you so much.
Don't sleep on the O-line, Jeff. It's important.
Don't sleep on it. All right,
guys. See you guys. You know it. Y'all know it.
And we have plenty more first takes still to get to. We got some fun topics coming up.